You're listening to Lessons in the Field.
I'm Malinda Gilbert, and today I'll be hosting the conversation as we continue sharing stories from people who have lived this work firsthand. Our guest is someone who's spent nearly 2 decades operating where preparation, judgment, and trust truly matter. Nate Bennett is the Vice President of Protective Operations at Rescor Group. He is a U.S. Marine veteran and a dedicated security professional. He brings nearly 2 decades of international experience in executive protection and risk management, with leadership roles spanning from the military, corporate, and family office environments. Nate has worked in high-risk regions around the world, traveled to more than 45 countries, lived abroad, and previously contracted with the U.S. State Department, providing diplomatic security in Baghdad, Iraq. He's a certified protection professional, advanced EMT, and a formerly business-educated leader from places like the University of Washington and recently from Harvard Business School, combining operational, medical, and strategic insight into the modern protective operations. Please welcome to the show, Nate Bennett.
Well, it's nice to be here.
Nate, I'm so glad that you, accepted my invitation to join this because...
Reluctantly.
Reluctantly.
Very reluctantly.
Remember sending you the text and being like, the beauty of what this podcast is going to turn into is, Daniel interviewed me first, and I was so grateful for the opportunity to share my story. But then the purpose of this is for that. It's to share someone's story. It's not a company. It's not a brand. It's not a publicity stunt for my company, your company, Alan's company. It's sharing your story. And I was really honored when you accepted it because you know how the industry feels towards silent professionals. And there is that balance of, do you be that Instagram influencer, EP lifestyle, X, Y, and Z influencer? Do you share nothing? That I love on this platform how there is a tasteful way of sharing an inside scoop of this world that you and I live in. And there's a way, we're not telling all. We're not cheapening it, but I also feel like there's such value to these experiences, and a lot of them you and I have actually shared, to where you are not naturally a over talkative, you're not a LinkedIn. I feel like if you didn't have to have a LinkedIn, you wouldn't have a LinkedIn. Yeah, you are a very silent professional. And so the fact that I get to kind of sit here and ask these questions, for one, is just an honor for me. But I think that our listeners are really going to benefit from hearing your story. And there's going to be parts that are relatable. There's going to be parts that are inspirational. But then also just insight on... I shared my very unique story, but then you have a very real, very unique story with so many different paths that we could take this entire episode into. So how would you, for just listeners that don't have a clue who you are, how would you describe yourself?
I mean, I think beyond my title, what I'm doing now, I'm just definitely somebody that takes astronomical responsibility for like everything I'm engaged in and everything I'm doing. Kind of leading up to this, obviously you get questions and you get opportunity to prep and figure things out, and I do ad-lib pretty well, so I figured the best way to go about this would be to just send it out to the
fully
community.
Authentic, yes.
Family, friends, colleagues, former bosses, individuals that might not like me very much probably got this, and I gave them the real opportunity to kind of just like put things out there and then dialed it back into, I think, what really truly defines me. What kind of describes me as who I feel like I am, with a little bit of comedy, humor, and maybe some TMI in between. But I sent that on this platform and over to you and put it on paper, and so I'm hoping you'll describe who I am from others' perspectives.
I love this approach, and it's very vulnerable for you to ask that because, again, might be great feedback. It might be very, I'm sure it's loving to a lot of these people, but I love this. So some of the things is that people would describe you as is you have a tough exterior, especially with people who don't know you well, which can sometimes come across as guarded. However, with those close to you, you're relaxed and playful, genuinely enjoying the simple, lighthearted moments, something that I see as a core part of who you are. You're extremely generous, sincere, you're detail-oriented, you're quick-witted, and sometimes stress can get the best of you, but then you narrow your focus and occasionally... Oh, I see. Stress can sometimes get the better of you, narrow your focus, occasionally clouding the better picture. But ultimately, this often stems from how deeply you care and the purpose of doing things the right way. That's what I know about you is you do have this core value of you want things done well. You want it done with excellence. A former team member said, you're someone who genuinely trusts his team once you earn it. One of the best bosses I've had and would follow him through the trenches any day. Close family members said you throw yourself all in. You set high standards for yourself, and if there's a way, you will find it. You're not afraid of conflict, and you make long-lasting relationships. I love that testimony of what you see is not always what you get, but once you see the inner world of Nate Bennett, you stay around. You stick from the long haul, and you're one of those friends that go through the muck and the mire, and you'll have fun in the process, and we'll probably learn something through it, and you'll probably come out better the other side of it. So I love these kind of feedback of people. What is it like for you to have people that knew you as a child and then know you from only the industry? Like childhood friends that don't even have an idea what this world of executive protection even is, or risk management. Would you say it's pretty consistent of friends from childhood to EP friends?
You know, that's a tough question. I think that the general consensus across the board probably is a lack of understanding, but seeing the impact.
Yes.
So they don't necessarily know what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it. They don't get to see the professional version of you. They don't get to see the Nate Bennett at work. Mm-hmm. They don't get to see the Nate Bennett in a leadership role. They don't get to see the Nate Bennett as a teammate. They don't get to see the behind closed doors, everything's falling apart, we're trying to put it back together. Yeah. What's the right way forward? Yeah. And I think one of my really good friends of probably, I think it's been about 15 years now, been through like thick and thin with me. Yeah. Total civilian, no background. He's doing his own thing. Met him through a former relationship. And I reached out to him, and he was one of the guys that kind of put some feedback forward. And he actually said, he just broke it down, and, you know, genuinely actually teared me up a little bit. Because I was like, this is so real, but at the same time, it's actually me, and I don't want to read it, and I don't want to hear it. But he was just basically telling me, and across the board, and, you know, there's some of it here where it's like a tough exterior, especially with people you don't know, where it comes across as maybe guarded. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a lot of like what we're doing and like how we go about life in this industry, and what we're trying to build as professionals is you learn a lot about people and intent and intentions. Yeah. And, you know, these descriptors that just red flag themselves, like the Matrix girl in the red dress, where you see it and no one else does, and you're just trying to like define what that's going to translate through for the next, you know, 2-3 days. Totally. And so this individual sees me as a pretty uptight, intense, argumentative, right. High expectations, high standards, concise, direct, forward, but at the same time, a happy-go-lucky individual who, you know, likes to just be genuine and real, and, you know, break things down and enjoy the moment, and like get away from it all. Yeah. And he broke it down in a way, and I really appreciate him for it, where I was like, you know, thank you for that. Yeah. But at the same time, you know, we're gonna have some words later on some of the things you said. But, you know, that kind of transpired in the same things that family said about me, where, you know, reached out to my parents, and, some of this the feedback was, steady and unwavering. You set the course and you throw yourself in. And I looked at that and I'm like, man, that's my old man. Like, we'll go into this, but,
Right.
he kind of set the tone in many different ways of like what the expectation is to lead and like the impact it is to lead and the burden you bear when you do so.
Right.
And, what failure looks like and where it comes from and behind closed doors in the spotlight or, kudos to him on the pulpit.
Yes.
And then my mother saying stuff too, and then kind of like breaking it down and trying to make light of the situation because she doesn't want to dig too deep, and
There's nothing like a mother's feedback.
yeah. And one of the funny things she said too, and I thought about this interview and I go, that's very true. She goes, you get really irritated when they ask too many questions. We ask too many questions. People ask too many questions.
Yes.
And I go, yes, mother, in the context of being at home, sitting at the dinner table, and you guys are asking me all these details I can't share, you're never going to understand, I can't explain.
Right.
So it was really, impactful to get that feedback, knowing I guess I play the good cop all the time. And I thought about that too.
Do you think that's hard? Has that been difficult for a relationship with family and those childhood friends that only know you in a certain context? Is it, and I'm sure in your military experience too, maybe you experienced this, do you enjoy the fact that you're different and you have such different experiences than them? Or is it, heartbreak's not the right word, but is it difficult to still have things in common when so much of your life is, I'm sure when you went to the Marines, you changed and you came back a different person, and the things that maybe you used to connect with your siblings, with your parents, I'm sure it added a different influence. Or did it not? Or has it been able to still be a good bond and you've found new things?
Things slip away. And that's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
Relationships slip away. Your ability to connect slips away.
Because of this job, or because of, do you think just even life and growing up?
Well, maturity, life, growing up,
Yeah.
experience, failure, wins, successes, everything in between. But what I really found is like the difficulty comes when you're trying to like reconnect and you get left behind in a way. Everybody else goes on without you.
Yes.
And you get stuck in returning to where they're at in their timeline,
Yes.
where they're at in their trajectory, or what has happened, what's going on. And I slowly found myself kind of like deciding on who to connect with and what's important and who values what I have to say in a way that makes me want to reconnect or stay connected or engage or be disciplined and hold my tongue.
Right. I think that's a fascinating statement because I resonate so much with that. And I actually had just said it to a friend the other day of like, how is it that I'm the one that moved away? I'm the one that's having all these life experiences, but it feels like everyone back at home has just taken a different train ride. And we're at different destinations, different timelines, but I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, and there's a piece in there where you have to kind of figure out where you slip back into. Like, where do I reset myself? Where do I find a place where I have boundaries and control and, I can implement what I've learned and how I think things should go into, I guess, guide, coach, and even be a friend to people like your parents.
Right.
Where the relationships change, where you turn, my background in childhood, I was going to say,
we can just get into it. Paint the picture.
We'll tap into
what did the world look like when you were growing up? Just paint the picture for us.
Well, this is a pretty deep, long picture. I grew up in a small town. We bounced around a lot. My father was a minister. That's really all I remember him as growing up the entire time. And, he pastored a couple different churches and had different jobs on whatever hierarchy that was, putting him where at certain times. We bounced between Tri-Cities, Washington, where I spent most of my life, and then up to Newport, Washington, where we have some connection.
Yeah.
Small town, nobody knows about it, and yet, like, I've ran into so many people in the industry that come from this
Something
unique
isn't
neck
in
of the
that
world.
Washington water boy. That is
Yeah.
90% of the industry is from Washington, in that little corner of the world. I think it's fascinating.
Oh, it definitely is. And
Some of the truest, best EP operators. It's not like, oh yeah, I know a guy that's from there. Like the best of the best are from there.
yeah, oh yeah.
Just pretty cool.
No, it is really cool.
Very proud, personally.
And I guess slipping into the industry from that kind of upbringing where, you know, I was a middle child.
Okay.
I have transitioned into being the adult of the siblings. A lot of family stuff, a lot of things in between, and taking charge and control and trying to mentor and direct and take charge of being this outsider.
Did you always feel like an outsider as a middle child?
I mean, everybody else definitely got a lot of the attention, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But not necessarily. I kind of felt left alone because I was doing my own thing. I didn't get in too much trouble early on, and then later definitely did. But the transition was interesting because you grow up as an individual within a small community or a micro community, but like in the spotlight. You know, like everybody wants a piece of your family. You know, whether it's positive, negative, beneficial, or long-term. A father and a mother that are in a community, and they're everybody's counselors, they're everybody's confidants, they're everybody's seniority, they're the individual that they want to hear from. They're like the CEO of a church, and then, you know, the first lady of, you know, 200 to 300 people within a town that's, you know, a few thousand.
Yeah.
And it turns into something where you start to learn about people and like what their intent is and what they're in this for.
Yeah.
It taught me a lot about like faith and religion, the
Yeah.
differentiations between like me having a relationship with whatever higher power you want to dictate, and what that means for me today. And then also growing up and seeing like the manipulative behavior that happens inside of those communities, behind the closed doors, in the boardrooms, in the meetings. And you got these old heads that are trying to change trajectory on a church that my dad's just trying to be a conduit of what he thinks is his passion and calling. And then that translates into part of, you know, who I am as a core is, you know, growing up very blue collar.
Yeah.
I didn't learn until I was 18 years old that we were like just astronomically like broke. Sorry, mom and dad. But,
Yeah. Right.
you know, I think it's 17, 18. I had a conversation with my parents and they were just like, yeah, like there was a lot going on.
Wow.
And you circle back and you kind of realize it's like those Christmases where everybody from the church is kind of bringing extra gifts.
Yeah. Yeah. You start to piece back together those childhood memories with way more context.
Yeah. And
Now understanding that depth of what was actually happening behind the scenes.
And my mother, bless her heart, you know, she told me one time, she's like, I went a few years without getting new clothes or shoes for myself because you kids at the time, there's 3 of us, you know, we were kind of transitioning, going through school, trying sports.
Expensive.
There was a cost, there was a toll.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you know, my dad's running a church, doing amazing things and getting to really just like send full Monty what passion and direction and purpose
Right.
in front of me while I'm sitting in the pews watching my dad up there speaking, and I'm like, you know, starstruck.
Yeah. Did you, so I'm surprised because growing up with a lot of other pastors' kids, they just grow to resent their parents. They grow to resent any part of ministry or any part of religion from that. And it doesn't sound like you have that. Why do you think that? Do you think your parents were super intentional with you and having that relationship? Did you ever feel like, I guess, dismissed? Because there was always someone that was calling, always someone that needed counseling. Or did you still feel like you were a priority and still loved and still a priority to your parents?
There's the moments.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, no one is perfect.
Yeah,
That's the other part. It sounds like they are trying to do. It sounds like they were very healthily living out the purpose that they knew what was for their life, and had 3 kids that are along for the ride. And so now we're just getting your viewpoint of what was that ride.
It was a roller coaster,
Yeah,
indeed.
yeah.
I mean, they did their best.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think why I am so optimistic and so welcoming and comforted by the fact of having these like mentors in my life, and my parents are still together.
Yeah. That's
right?
huge.
But now you grow up and you start to learn like what that process was, what they went through, like how they got there. All the way back to like, I remember things kind of fall apart in town. I didn't really understand. I'm doing my own thing as a kid, and like my old man's going through burnout, like horrifically, and he was probably, I think maybe 4 or 5 years younger than me now.
Wow. That puts it into perspective for
with
sure.
a couple hundred
Yeah.
people, at his doorstep all the time,
Yeah.
with 3 kids. My mother was studying to become a midwife in the town and like starting her own practice, and and then she got pregnant with my little brother, and it kind of just started to spool into this transition with some life events even that happened at the time that we can go into. But what really was impactful, and I think what really made me understand kind of who I was becoming, was I didn't know who was in it for what.
Yeah.
So I saw passion, I saw dedication, I saw ambition, I saw drive, I saw perseverance, I saw failure, I saw circling through just some crazy, crazy stuff. And then also still leading.
Right.
And still managing. And putting things together all the way back to, I think my dad put this thing together. I can't remember when it was, but it was for Halloween. And obviously, like, let's not go into the dichotomy between, like, that world and, like, the other world. But it was like a Indiana Jones themed event at the church.
Yeah.
Where it kind of circled into some, like, lessons and trying to just, like, reach the community a little bit.
Yeah.
But he went through this whole process where the entire church, and I mean, there was like drawbridges going across stairs, and it's like the entire thing was decked out.
Yes.
And as a kid, it looked like Disneyland, but it was all themed into be Indiana Jones themed, Halloween. Let's invite the whole entire community. And then I remember talking to him about it like years ago. And he was like, man, that thing almost killed me.
Yeah.
Like it literally almost killed me.
Yeah.
Like people were upset. They didn't understand the direction. All he was trying to do was just like outreach.
Right. But clearly putting his heart and his soul and every bit of energy into that event. And clearly still memorable. Just a key point in your childhood memory.
I can like get glimpses of it.
Totally.
It was so cool.
Right.
It was very cool.
I can see that now. I had a very similar thing in the church that I grew up in, where it was a missions conference, and every room was a different country, and we had the different missionaries from each country, and you ate a food, you had some sort of cultural experience, and then you had a little plane, you had a little passport, same exact feeling. I remember that's the exact moment when I was like, I gotta travel the world. I gotta get out of this town. Like there's a whole world to be discovered. And it's so funny how those type of events, it seems so simple. It's a 1-2 day, one evening event, but these leaders put so much heart and dedication, and the details really matter. And do you think that, I mean, I'm speaking for myself, I already know the answer is yes, but for you, it sounds like that planted so many seeds of the character that was required for later in life. And you already had a clear example of what that looked like. And so how did this really beautiful foundation carry you into the Marine Corps and then later into, executive protection? Did you appreciate it at the time?
No, I don't think I did, honestly.
Yeah, you're a teenager, so you take everything for granted, but...
Yeah, well, at that time, I was like elementary, middle school. I mean, there was a couple years where I was homeschooled. Yeah. And then kind of transitioned to like public school, Christian school.
So a lot of changes in your childhood.
Yeah, I was astronomically sheltered.
Yeah.
I didn't even understand the things that kids were talking about when I kind of shifted into middle school, high school. But one of like the turning points, and it kind of was like phased out where I'm learning and growing and I'm trying to figure out this town and this small town thing and like what my parents are doing, what I'm supposed to be doing, and just learning, studying, playing soccer and all these other sports and figuring out who I am. And I started to realize it's like my friend group is extremely small, like extremely small. There was like the play dates, as you would call them, where I don't know if this is people just trying to like put us together to where, you know, the adults can talk because my parents are the pastors and they need something from them.
Yeah.
If these kids actually want to hang out with me, you know, the school times where I think a little bit of the transition was I was sheltered.
Yeah.
I wasn't cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I at one point I had a bleach blonde bowl cut, bifocal glasses,
Bowl cut.
wearing Rugrats t-shirts in elementary school, thinking that like I was the thing. And all these
Ignorance
other
is
kids
bliss at that age.
with all of these other lifestyles and parents and influence and pop culture, like I didn't know how to catch up. Like I didn't know what was what. And it started to make me realize it's like it was very distrusting on like who to believe.
Okay.
You know, there's wholesome individuals from my upbringing that like cared for us, and there's other individuals that they wanted stuff from my family, my parents.
Manipulation. Yeah.
And then there was a very big event in town. My older brother and myself were both friends with, you know, quite a few people. Some were attached to the church, some weren't. Most were attached to school. There's a big car accident. Multiple kids passed away in this car accident. And one was one of my best friends, like one of my only friends at the time. And then the other one was another friend, acquaintance from school that we hung out at school. And then, you know, he came to the church a little bit. And another one was my older brother's friend. And he was driving the car. That changed everything.
Yeah.
So that changed the impact with like what my family was dealing with. That changed the impact of like what I was dealing with and like how to transition and like understand these kinds of things. And I think it was about a year that kind of went by while we were figuring this all out. And I just remember like, now we're moving. My dad's resigning from the church.
Just because of the grief?
I don't know.
Wow.
We've talked about it, and like I guess I would still ask the question, like what really kind of like what was the sequence of events?
Right.
But we left town, and like I left everybody that I knew.
Wow.
I left everything that I was comfortable with, and then that started this weird transition where now we're moving to Tri-Cities, Washington.
Middle of nowhere.
Yeah, jumping in with our grandparents.
Yeah.
You know, living in a mother-in-law suite on a blow-up mattress.
Right.
While my siblings have the only other 2 bedrooms stacked in there, and we're transitioning now into like this public school sphere where it was eye-opening, to say the least. And then I had to just figure it all out.
How old were you at this point?
I think it all happened in the 6th grade, and then I remember jumping into, I think, middle school in the 7th grade in Tri-Cities, and then just kind of getting this like
Middle school is hard enough. Then to add
small
all of
town,
that. Yeah.
upbringing,
Right. Your whole world just
shelter,
shattered.
Yeah, it just changes.
Right.
But at this time, there was this thing that would happen in that community, in like the Christian community, where, you know, people would kind of like, I guess, tell you more so like what they see in you, like what you're supposed to be. I was a pastor's kid. I was supposed to do something big. I was supposed to be
You're the
somebody
future.
big.
You're going to change the world.
Yeah, and there's this pressure that gets put on you where you're scrutinized and you're
Very
looked
much
at.
so,
But
yes.
what it made me think about is like, oh, wow, what is that? And so then we turn into a transition where I changed everything. It's like I got contacts, I buzzed my head, cut my hair short kind of thing. I started wearing different stuff. I was looking at other people, figuring out like, how do I be like that person? How do I like assimilate? How do I adapt? Because I just got that like no one around me right now is going to have the same intentions that I feel. They're not going to have the same moral compass. They're not going to understand what I understand. They're not going to think like I think. But how do I understand them better? And then you start to just drift into this new version of yourself that's almost demanded, and you don't necessarily want it, but if you don't do it, you know you're going to be left behind. And so we started to just transition. My dad left the church, started working for another one, eventually goes into sales, and then we just become like everybody else.
Wow. So those people speaking that over you, it was inspirational. Was it?
Yeah.
It was encouraging of like, no, you have so much ahead of you.
Yeah, it's TMI and probably too much for everybody that's going to listen to this, but there was this interesting thing that, me, my older brother, and my dad always talk about. And there was this comment made where it's like, these boys are going to be the sons of thunder.
Yeah.
And I was like, hell yeah. Thor?
Right.
Odin?
You just now.
And my dad's like, no. Wrong denomination, son.
Right.
That's just not, no, that's like some pagan stuff. But, all jokes aside, it was this moment where I grew up in this way where I was obsessed with like James Bond and all these other things. And I'd love to go out and adventure, and I'd be skating around town with my friends. And, my brother helped build a skate park in Newport, Washington. And I just knew that there was something. Like, there was literally something just calling on my life, and I couldn't figure it out. And my older brother plays music. My dad played music. I thought that, like, that was going to be my next thing, or, like, I was supposed to do that. And I really got heavily involved in those kinds of things, and something I passionately care about. It's drifted away because of the transition, but what was that calling? What was I supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
What made Nate Nate? And it always felt like the hardest way to describe it would be to imagine that reincarnation existed. Again, faux pas, don't talk about that. Wrong denomination, son. It was, in fact, like I was
almost like
not
a rebirth
myself.
of who you are.
Like I was trapped in this nerdy, sheltered little body.
A false identity. That's really what it is. Now you're stepping into your real identity. Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah, and then, long story short, high school transition, trial by fire for sure. But I eventually just drifted into, I played more sports. Did like club basketball, really got into it. I found that I was like naturally athletic. Started rollerblading and skateboarding, doing flips on half pipes and like just random stuff, but nothing ever clicked. Like I was never really passionate about much. And then I guess like, come full circle and jumping down the rabbit hole a little bit, I went to school on 9/11. I jump in the library, my older brother and his friends, because I was still figuring it out. This is roughly freshman year, got there 7th grade, 8th grade, freshman year. Like, I haven't quite figured it out yet. I'm like letting my older brother lead the way. And so some of his friends were my friends, or at least at school. And I felt protected by that. I felt safe by it. I felt like I needed that safety net. And it made me think about just like protecting and all these other things that kind of translate, to later on, now that I'm thinking about it. But teachers rolled out those old, like, maybe you don't remember, but those like old rickety metal stands with like a tube television on top that they do.
Yes,
like
I was just referencing
the teacher
that.
rolls it out and it's like, a sex ed conversation. And you're like, oh God, what's the video going to be today? That was it.
Yeah.
And it was the news.
Got it.
And the towers are falling. And it just like sparked something. Like it hit me so hard where I was like, oh yeah. Like I felt wounded by it.
Really?
Yeah, and then I started just figuring out what was next. Like how I was going to go about it. And I think that transitioned into, the big lessons on like finding purpose and value in, a direction moving forward. And it just like, it sat with me, haunted me. It was like in the back of my head all the time. It lowered my grade point average.
Wow.
To the point where like high school was not a time for me.
I don't think it was anyone's time.
No, I drifted into getting into a little bit of trouble. I got suspended from high school like so many times. And what's funny about it is a lot of it was for things like, some kid at school gets spit on and I see it happen and I confront the guy. And I'd been bullied by the same guy. And then sure enough, like, I'm the one getting suspended after the altercation. Or, a really funny one was this one guy, and, hopefully I hope he listens to this. We had a party. I think it was like sophomore year or something like that. We had a party, and the simplicity of the action is what's hysterical. He stole like a 2-liter root beer out of my backpack. We didn't have a lot of money. My parents just bought some extra stuff. I got to take it to school, and I felt like I was contributing. I felt like I was a value add. Mm-hmm. And like, it just didn't get to the point where that's going to get taken. And so like, I had this extra stuff in my bag that I was like, hell yeah, I'm taking this home, and I'm going to get the buddies over, and, we're going to get in the basement, play some Nintendo 64 and have a great night. And he stole it out of my backpack. Oh, no. And then it's lunchtime, and they're all in the hallway, like sitting in a row, sitting back, and they're like pouring out the root beer in the hallway. And I walk by, and sure enough, this guy kind of just looks at me and smirks. And I don't know what it was, but it just like set me off. And so I grabbed the root beer, and I proceeded to walk over all of them and just pour it out.
Just enjoy it.
Yeah. And then I walked myself in the principal's office, and I go, Mr. So-and-so, I'm just going to let you know that we should probably talk about this before. And it was like, again, me, now, extreme accountability, upbringing.
Yep.
I knew I did something wrong, whether it was simple or not. It was just like that moment of like, okay, call my parents.
Yep.
We're going to deal with this.
This is just part of the process.
And that was
I
that,
love
like,
that.
figuring out this fighter spirit.
Yes. It sounds like it really ignited that switch to just flip, and then you were locked on.
Yeah. This warrior ethos, this pent up, not aggression, just discombobulated purpose, like what was next.
Yes.
And like these kind of actions and interactions and things, they just transitioned into, taking more charge over like myself, and like picking my friends and building relationships of people that are still around to this day. And then the transition into, starting to get into like backyard boxing.
Yeah.
Or at school they had these like Friday night fight nights. And, like everybody would get together. And me being me at the time, Nate was always the DD.
Okay.
So we'd go to these things, and well, sure enough, it was easy for me to throw boxing gloves on and jump in a circle and, give a show, not having a lick of clue what I was doing.
Right.
Being completely sober while everybody else is having a good time. And then sure enough, it's like, you get some accolades from it. You get some attention from it. And then it kind of inflates your ego, and you go,
of course.
Oh, wow. And then I started tapping into things like that.
Right.
And then, get to the end of high school, and I go, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I always knew what I was doing.
It sounded like it was just the momentum just kept building and building. And is that what then finally just was the thumbs up for the Marines, or did you had any other branch that you were interested in, or is it always Marines?
I wanted to go and do the highest of the high.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to be the next secret squirrel. Mm-hmm. I just had no context to what that looked like.
Right.
I had nobody in my life, no direction. There was no college
family
talks.
members.
I think my grandfather was in the Air Force, and then there's maybe somebody else, but I was a first generation Marine.
Okay.
So come high school, finishing, I started talking to a recruiter. I enlisted, and I was one of those guys that stood up at graduation. It's like, Nate Bennett's going to go to the Marine Corps, and you stand up loud and proud.
Okay.
And then that spiraled into, what then recreated me even more, which was understanding perseverance and what no sounds like.
Yeah.
I didn't get in. 2 years went by. I went to community college. And I did community college because at that point I was starting to learn like how to prep, how to plan, how to logistically set yourself up for success in the best way possible. And you could get a promotion by getting a certain amount of credits from college. So I went to community college. And I go to enlist again. They say no. And then I finished community college. I go to enlist again, and they said no. I almost left for the Marine Corps I think it was 3 times.
Wow.
I wrote.
And you were still just determined. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
It clearly didn't deter you.
My friends threw going away parties.
Yeah.
And I left. And what it turned out is there was a typo in my medical records that nobody noticed. Nobody failed to look at. Attention to detail.
No.
I was somewhat bypassed in a way where it made me have to figure it out on my own. My recruiter threw me out. My parents were like, this is not you. Like, maybe this is not your calling. This is not what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
This is a sign. Everybody told me no. Everybody told me no. I wrote my congressman. And the guy was actually in the town at the time. Funny enough. I don't know why congressman was in Tri-Cities, Washington.
Right.
But I wrote this congressman. I still have the letters. It's actually in some of my military records, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But I wrote him, and what I got back was, I can't help you. Here's who to call. I blew up their phones for like a month and a half. Talked to somebody, found out there was a typo, and 3 days later, I was leaving for the Marine Corps.
Wow. Wow.
So, all things considered.
So the grit to just even stay up until the start point. Now you're still at the start. You still have so much to go through.
I was belligerent.
Yeah.
Being a Marine to me was like the thing. Mm-hmm. And in that process, I had enlistment options. So I lost the opportunity to actually do what I really wanted to do.
Okay.
I lost the opportunity more times than I think I can count based off of the timing, and they need to get slots and, numbers. But I finally went in, and I went in as a B6 ground option, which is basically an open contract. And then I get to, boot camp, step on those yellow footprints, and the world changes.
And everything changed.
Like, everything changes. Like, I thought I knew what I was getting into, and I had no idea.
Yeah.
And then again, I fought and fought and fought and fought and fought. I made somewhat of a name for myself, both by getting into a bit of trouble in boot camp, what we would call extra attention. And then also,
I'm assuming lots of push-ups.
Yeah, I was their special creature for a while. And I had a kind of an interesting, and I think you'll get this, but I had this problem with what we call bearing, right? If it's funny, it's funny. And I had such a hard time not laughing, holding holding it all in and like trying not to
You and I
there.
are both probably not the best poker players.
It was pretty, actually, I'm a pretty good poker
Are you?
player.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I figured it out. The Marine Corps taught me.
You got to teach me. Okay, I'm terrible at that.
Go through all that, and there was some instances where, I stepped up and kind of figured out, like, what teams were like and what taking care of your peers were like, and where it's not about me, it's about other people. And, you go out on what we call a smoke deck. You go out in the pit, and your drill instructor's just grueling you. Like push-ups, jumping jacks. Like, you're crying, you're snotting out of the mouth. Like, you've got nothing left, and then you find it. You get your second one, like that runner's high they always talk about. Like, it's a real thing, and then you find this intestinal fortitude to be able to actually push forward and to move on and to figure it out. And I remember there was this one time where my recruiter got this information from my drill instructor, because I guess they were boys back in the day in the Marine Corps. And he went out to be a recruiter. He stayed as a DI and did his thing. They knew each other, never had any idea. But we're getting smoked one day, and I kind of just like realized this guy's falling out. And because he's failing, the rest of us are failing. So we continue because somebody's the weak link.
Right.
Translates into today.
Yes.
And like how I lead and what I care about, and like a team moving forward together. But he was falling out, and I just like scooted up in the push-up position, grabbed him by the back of the shirt, and I start doing one-arm push-ups, helping him pull up. And that guy, that DI, actually went back to my recruiter and told my recruiter about it, and I think my family found out about it. And it was like this loud, proud moment where I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm seeing something differently. I feel something differently. And I'm like reaching out to put myself into not harm's way, but like I'm punishing myself as
Taking
this
a
19-year-old
risk.
kid
Yeah.
to just help somebody else.
Right.
So we can succeed together. Because I started to click and I started to get it. And so I started to learn those pretty good lessons in the Marine Corps, at least in boot camp. And then again, you know, I wanted to be combat arms.
Okay.
I wanted to do more.
Mm-hmm.
And the job they gave me at the time was not going to be that. I mean, you might as well made me a cook.
Right.
You know, but I fought again, went to Marine combat training, and then they asked questions where they're like, hey, so who's got a problem with this, and this? And I'm like, over and over and over again, to where I got the attention of an individual that happened to be a combat engineer.
Okay.
He asked me a hard question one day, and it turned into an extracurricular activities of me learning, studying, figuring out what I wanted, figuring out how to get it, and pitching what I wanted. I pitched him good enough when I got pulled aside. He changed my MOS. He changed my job description.
Wow.
And at that point, based off my contract, I wasn't going to get anything better until later on, maybe some other transitions. And then I go to Marine combat training, combat engineer training out in North Carolina.
Okay.
Same thing. There's division, there's air wing, and there's group.
Okay.
Group and air wing is kind of like, I don't know, you're going to patch runways as an engineer, build some stuff,
Right.
Move some heavy equipment around.
Right.
Not appealing. Like I wanted combat arms. I wanted to do that
Yes,
kind of thing.
right.
Like it was just like
I want the
a
action.
fire.
Yes.
And I got division. And then I show up to my unit during some of the big fires in kind of Camp Pendleton area, SoCal. And then it kind of just all panned out from there. Start drifting into understanding what leadership is, understanding what management looks like,
Yeah.
understanding who does what and why and how, understanding what a team looks like, understanding where promotions that are forced or like a cycle
Yes.
of expectation
Yes.
put the wrong people in the wrong place for the wrong
The
reasons.
results from that. Absolutely.
And then catastrophic failure happens, to then making mistakes and
Yeah.
having to recover from it and taking extreme ownership and accountability and taking your licks. Even if you'd rather be, you know, put on a board or, you know, tried for some simple action, you just say, yes, sir, no, ma'am, yes, ma'am,
Yeah.
I did that, or I'll take the consequences, and just figuring out like when's the right time and place to just take accountability and to move forward and how that affects other people around you, where your actions and your interactions and the things and the choices and the decisions that you make, they ultimately turn into something that affects everybody around you.
Yeah.
Throw a pebble into a pond or a river
Right.
or whatever. It all has a different effect, but it does create ripples. Whether something else washes it out or whether or not it just drifts all the way to another shoreline and still water, and there's really no change or impact you can have on what it's the trajectory of what your actions decided. And then I recover from that and get in a unit that was astronomically amazing with some of the best leadership that I've ever experienced.
Wow.
To the point where, you know, some things happened, you know, obviously during those times it was pretty rough and, you know, we lost some people, and then now still to this day, these guys get together and go out to Arlington Cemetery and do this memorial for him almost, you know, every single year.
Yeah.
And I did my first one.
That brotherhood's still there.
Yeah, I did my first one last year, and it was actually pretty impactful seeing these guys after all these years.
Right.
And I'll never forget it, and I'm probably going to go again, you know, coming up, but it just all compounds.
Right.
All these actions and interactions, and you don't think about it until later. And you don't really understand that this maturity and growing up and transitioning through all these phases and trials and tribulations and pieces of life, they just add And I think if you can't understand how to put that Lego set together.
Yep. Well, and how fortunate that you, as I'm listening to you, I do love that you didn't shy away from, especially the context of your childhood, because, professional environment, religion, politics, we don't talk about that. But the more I learn and meet people in this industry, the more there is very similar stereotypes and very similar personalities that have many stories that could probably relate to you.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about this is it's your story. It shows so clearly on how, exactly like you're saying, of you have this environment you're growing up. And what a blessing, honestly, to have that crisis force you to shed that false identity, now walk into your true identity, and then have someone speak all this potential of what your life could be and that it's fully inside of you. And then that's stirred that fire inside of you. And then you're going through high school, just pumped, you've got the momentum's building. And then now you're in a team environment where it's not just Nate against the world. Now it's Nate's team against the world. And then you're learning and molding it and with the Play-Doh of what it actually looks like of team now crushing it and doing those operations and checking that box. All these things. I love this trajectory of how no experience was wasted, and it really just kept building on it, like the Lego piece, just like you're saying. It just kept adding more and more details. But that foundation was there, which kudos to your parents and the intentionality of your family. But then carrying that on to the Marines and then later in life and then into executive protection and what it brings. And I always say how executive protection, it's a fun job. We all want to be James Bond. We all want to be G.I. Joe or G.I. Jane. And there's that persona of what this job is. But we're really in the people business. Yeah. You are dealing with, when you're in leadership, it's like you're a parent. You're constantly correcting, disciplining, motivating, encouraging these people underneath you.
Good copying.
Yes, good copying, bad copying. All of these it's a human business that we're in. And now that's just our team. That's not our principals. That's not these people that we're protecting and in the most intimate part of their life. But I love that because how fortunate for you to have that so young. No, this is who I am. This is my identity. This is my purpose of, not Brothers of Thunder, but, the alternative of that of, no, I'm a fully confident human being that I know I'm fully capable to do X, Y, and Z. And how did you then, coming out of the Marines, make that transition to executive protection? How did you even understand that world or get introduced?
Wow. I mean,
is that a big leap?
Yeah, it's another transition.
Yeah.
Another phase of life, another kind of trajectory or road you take where you don't necessarily know which fork and section that is going to be the destination. You just have to decide and take one. And part of that was decided for me leaving the Marine Corps.
Okay.
I wanted to do more. I was actually about to re-enlist. I was working on the packet. But what I wanted to do at the time wasn't going to happen. I got hurt. I'd gotten hurt, and I took that upon myself to sit back and just contemplate, like, what's next. And the job that I was in at the time and who I was with drastically changed. This is the time when, there was combat replacements to Afghanistan, and, like, my buddies and everybody else is getting just pulled away. Everything that I was comfortable with and everything that I knew in that team environment that kept me going, kept me motivated, and kept me, like, passionate about being a Marine and this camaraderie and this core of individuals where I'm like, you're my people and I want to be next to you doing the next thing together. They're gone. So it was what do I do next? And I just got kind of put into a position where I got pushed into what we call kind of like a B billet. And I was helping coach, instruct for marksmanship training as like my last, I think it was like 6-7 months in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
Right across the street from what was, they transitioned to the Marine Corps mixed martial arts location where a lot of the guys were training. And so I'd pop across the street and I'd do a little training, and then I'd do the coaching thing. And then
You'd finally get that formal training that you needed.
Yeah.
in high
And
school.
so I learned a little bit, and then I can't remember how it happened, but like I was pretty banged up and I ended up needing to get surgery. And so I went through this process of going to the Marine Corps and getting surgery, and then I'm phasing out and I'm already in my last like 3 months. And then I want to do this next thing, but that next thing is going to be big. That next thing is going to require me to be the best version of myself, to try out, to make it through this indoctrination process, to then move forward and hopefully get a slot and get selected to be able to do that. And it just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Like we didn't know. I wasn't done with my like rehab, all simple, all fairly just like cut and dry. Like it was just the process. And then I just go, I'm getting out. I'm just not going to do it. I don't want to come back. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here without anybody here. And I just made the young decision. I was like, I'm done. I'm out. At the time I was in a relationship, and this individual, she was pretty motivated on traveling.
Okay.
She got a job teaching English in Bangkok, Thailand. And I literally go, I'll go. So a couple months after the Marine Corps, I stopped back off at home. I'm there for a little bit. I get a ticket, I pack my small bags. Boom. I'm full-time, full-fledged Bangkok, Thailand.
Straight from the Marines to
Yep.
Bangkok, Thailand. So
Straight from the Marines.
that whole like thawing out, you're doing that in Thailand.
It never happened.
It never happened. Okay.
No, I talk about this some, and I've mentioned this before. We might have even talked about it in the past on our old team, but I just never really had the opportunity to thaw out, because you go from, I think I was in like 8 different countries, whether that was training, traveling, or, you know, like simple operations during the time. But I transitioned into now a foreign country as an expat, living in like a tiny little studio shack while somebody's teaching English at a school that's teaching children. And I'm like early 20s.
Yeah.
And then trying to figure it out. So I go, what do I do? And thinking like 10 steps ahead. What is going to help me set myself up for success to get to the next level? And, well, GI Bill, school. So I actually, again, don't quote me on this, but there's a school in Bangkok, Thailand that I ended up studying at, international business, while I was training Muay Thai, somewhat full-time, but like very actively. And this school didn't necessarily understand like the GI Bill process. I think, again, don't quote it, but I think I was a part of the process of them actually understanding what it was and then getting it accepted to where now I can use my benefits to get this school paid for.
Right.
Which helped me actually go to school and to sustain and to live there for that time.
Right.
So I did that. I pumped out like, there's this interesting system where you go to a class like 3 days a week or like 2 days a week, and you're knocking out like 2 courses a month versus like the US based system where, you know, you're doing this over time. It was intensive. A lot of this coursework, a lot of the material, it's all happening in class. Everybody.
And what was the thought behind that? Of you were then gonna go do business?
Yeah, I thought that maybe business was the thing. And at that same time, what was happening was I had seen and I had heard and I had discussed and I had talked about and I had researched this bodyguarding stuff.
Yeah.
I had saw some 3-car packages or like these black vehicles at these locations where, you know, me and the ex at the time would go see friends, or she had like college professor friends in their like school communities. And I started like, okay, what is that? How do I get into that? And then I started learning about everything else that's out there and like who does what and why and how, but I had no context or information. I just knew I've got to put this somewhere. And then I go, okay, well, how do we get there? Education, maybe. Like, is that the next step? Everybody's doing it.
Everyone was doing it, right?
You know, no offense to my family at all,
Yeah.
but like, I had no help.
Right.
I didn't know.
Right.
She technically helped me out.
Yeah.
And so I go to school and I'm doing these classes. I knock out like 11 courses in, well, no, I think it was a little more. I think it was around like the middle teens.
What else were we going to do?
In coursework in 11 months.
Right. Wow.
So I'm getting ready to leave Thailand because both of us at the time were applying for schools. And like I was trying to actually, the next phase is like a degree from Thailand, like.
Only goes so far.
So then I go, okay, what's like my Harvard right now
Yeah.
based off of my high school, the
All right.
half-assed job that I did in community college to
Yeah.
get that promotion to go in the Marine Corps, which was the process.
Right.
It was for a purpose.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, let me apply to some schools. I got into a few. But home was Washington,
Yeah.
University of Washington, like Foster School of Business. I got in to the university and got told no about the business school. Had to fight for it again.
Of course.
Yeah. So
Sensing a theme here.
there's a theme of like everybody tells you no, and guess
Yes.
what? There's a gray area in the
Right.
world that like red tape is just tape.
It's just tape.
There's ways
Only
through
one
it,
side sticky.
which we understand, and
Yes.
this world gets very well.
Yes.
With power and influence, then comes the ability to kind of move mountains and make things happen. And I was discovering it along the way.
Yes.
So I go to University of Washington, and boom, there's this veteran community.
Right.
This veteran community
Right.
with shout out 4 Block. This individual that I knew that was actually with the unit that I deployed with, and another guy that I knew from that unit were kind of like starting it.
Okay.
They were figuring out how to get that like Pacific Northwest
Right.
as 4 Block, I guess, was growing.
Okay.
I think that's the story at the time. I got attached to them, and then I start realizing that the process of that was they're trying to platform to put me into positions to interview, to do informational interviews with like, I think we did one with like Amazon, Microsoft.
For business?
Yeah.
Really?
For business, and like to talk to them about opportunity. And I had it in my head that like, what's this executive protection and security stuff? And so I start going into these interviews. And one of the most profound moments is I was in an interview with this individual, and he was a former veteran. And I'm talking to him, now a former veteran. I thought we were on the same page. He's corporate. He has no idea what I'm talking about as far as like trying to tap in and protect their C-suite.
Right.
And I'm young and passionate and eager, and I'm trying to like pitch myself into this position
Right.
of like, this is what I want to do. Make a position.
Make a
for me.
position, right.
Put me in what I want.
Right.
You're
Not
red-
even knowing what it looks like. That's
you're
what I
red
love
tape,
about this
yeah.
right now.
You're red tape and I'm giant scissors. So that same individual in that same group, again, team, community, paying it forward, taking care of your own, trying to give back. And he got me an introduction with a vendor company at the time. And they had a guard job open. So my first job in the industry was a mix between working a simple executive bottom floor for their small firm where I'm the only individual a couple nights a week into doing security operations coordination. So planning the implementation phase. Vendor company has all of these different projects moving around, and little old Nate is the one that's connecting and booking hotels and trying to like put the pieces together. So I started to learn. I started to learn like what's what and who's doing what and who's who, and like what clients that company had, and like what a team was and what EP really was, and where it was ad hoc versus full-time embedded. Like,
Wow. So your
On
introduction to the industry is just at that base level real life. You don't even have schooling. You don't have other EP teams that are showing. Did you even know what an EP team was?
I kind of had an idea.
Like a close protection detail.
Yeah, I kind of had an idea, which is part of the funny story, is that I got my start because of that connection with that veteran
Yeah,
community and, organization trying to set us up for success. And I landed a spot, but then I got put into a position where now I'm actually helping orchestrate things at a level that I should never have been doing it with.
That's what's confusing me. Exactly. How did you do this?
Yeah, sitting next, like, was a small office. I mean, it was probably 4 times the size of this, and there was 3 desks in it. The 2 other people were like running the company, and I was their security operations coordinator,
Wow.
technically admin, hearing, seeing, and doing all of these things. And then that just transitioned into this, like, it's me. I'm hungry, eager, and passionate. And, like, I can't shut up about everything else that we have going on. And how do I get involved? I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do
Exactly.
it. Put me on it.
Right.
Let me have
The
it.
power of saying yes.
And then you hear no. Start to understand why. And then figure out, okay, what's next? So I go, okay, I'm about to graduate from this business school that I reluctantly got into. Or not reluctantly, I was eager to get into it, but they told me no. And then I knocked on some doors and made some comments and cut some red tape to get in again. And I crushed it. It's the best I've ever done in any school.
Yeah.
I'm like a curve average where, like, I never thought that I would excel in the way that I did. And I did really well, and I was really proud about it. I didn't go to my graduation. I went to a 21-day PSD EP course. I love that. Also using the GI Bill.
Yeah.
Bless that program.
Yes.
And they gave me time off to go do it because I just kind of started, all the things were happening at the same time.
Okay.
And then it was like, what can I do next? What's the next course?
Did that EP school, did you feel like you had a really better understanding of the industry between close protection, residential, clandestine, celebrity protect? Was it kind of an introduction into, hey, this is what your path forward could be like? Or was it, great, now I just finally have the certification to keep doing what I was already doing?
To put it together, I think there's a lot of influence in who you're doing things around. So I was fortunate to be able to be in a room with individuals that had been doing it for a very long time. The things I heard, the things I was a part of, the conversation pieces that were popping up, the opportunities that I got to, like, use my brain and my education and then my background in, like, combat engineer in the Marine Corps, and put together, like, when the drones were coming out, I did this cool report for a client that was all about countering drones. And I was thinking about ways that I would use it, given the demolitions background, to then implement it. And that's happening in Ukraine.
Right.
Like, it's a big deal now. But then I was like, oh, this is going to be great. It didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
But
industry is still a little slow on drones right now.
I was able to tap into these individuals that had backgrounds in, like, other government agencies or corporate executive protection, British government level stuff, and talk and to chatter and to ask and inquire and be a sponge and just soak everything that I could up.
Yeah.
And then that gave me opportunities. And then they put me in the positions, and I still appreciate them to this day, and has a special place in my heart where I got my start. But they put me in the spots, and they gave me the opportunity. And one of those big ones was a full-time executive protection program for my first ultra-high net worth client.
Okay.
As a 26-year-old.
Yeah.
Jumping right in and just going.
Got serious real quick.
What is this?
What did I just step into?
Yeah.
All right, Nate, one thing that I love, especially about your story, is you really have dabbled in quite a few of the different types of security. You've clearly, as you're saying, started with the corporate security. You've had the celebrity protection. You've had the international diplomatic. You've had the covert protection. We did that together for quite a few years. What for you has been? What was the moment where in your career you were like, it got serious? Of, oh, this isn't just a job. This isn't just a box check. This is different than the military, but like, oh, this is what EP is. When was that moment where you just locked in of, wow?
Well, again, life transitions you in different ways where you get put down paths that you might not necessarily have chosen for yourself or agreed upon or tried to tackle. And I had another opportunity to, follow somebody at the time that I cared about that got another job teaching English
Yeah.
in a foreign country.
Yeah.
And I found myself in Guatemala for about 2.5 years. And there was a brief couple-month transition between the company that I was at and doing the EP stuff, putting in my resignation reluctantly because I felt like that was a good place for me.
Yeah.
And then jumping right back into full-fledged, living off the community at full-time, paying rent in a foreign country, and figuring out what's next. And I had gotten connected through some military connections to a company that was doing close protection, protecting diplomats and protecting, I think they had contracts at the time with other government organizations in the area that I knew about and participated in some, but most of it was oil and gas, on the Pacific and Caribbean coast of Guatemala. And then some of it was like ad hoc coverage for philanthropy or, scientific organizations that were kind of moving into the country and needed protection for the things that they were doing. And I had interviewed for this, and one of the processes was like, you don't speak Spanish.
Oh, right.
Which I didn't.
Right.
At all. I mean, I grew up in a town where it was like the second language, but at the same time, I did not speak it. And they put me in like 8-week intensive, about 8 hours a day, 4 or 5 days a week in Antigua, Guatemala, where I'm talking back and forth with somebody like this that just is only letting me use Spanish and giving me lessons and homework and stuff while I was working at this company. They just started throwing me at stuff, weird stuff. Stuff I probably at the time should have never been a part of, but at the same time, then realizing the astronomical weight of, this is real.
Yeah.
Like, this is actually me being in charge of now local nationals, 10 years my senior, because this client wanted an expat American to be running whatever protection detail of 5 to 10 of their little philanthropy
And were these
delegation.
American diplomats that you're protecting, or are they local?
No, a couple
diplomats
of
too?
the
I mean, don't
a
say
couple of the
anything yet,
assignments that we
but-
did were U.S. based companies coming in there to do their thing in different locations.
Yeah.
There was other projects that the company was a part of that were attached to other organizations and doing different stuff. One of the missions that I did was, being attached to a government organization protecting an individual that was doing stuff in El Salvador, while I was taking care of a media executive that was a part of their motorcade process and moving in and out of embassies and stuff like that. And the short version of Guatemala was, it was just a trying time for me of assimilating, learning a language the best that I could, and then also getting tossed at a project that was almost my full-time detail, was running what we call like a quick reaction force or a guard force for an oil and gas facility that was on the coast, the Pacific coast of Guatemala. Managing a guard force, mostly in Spanish.
Yeah.
And our job was just to take care of this facility as trucks were moving on and off. Very residential security kind of feeling, but it was oil and gas and facility, understanding the engineering aspects of things and like what the processes were and what they were doing, and doing mobile protection for their bank runs locally, and learning the reality of now the Marine Corps transition to Thailand to now university back in the States and corporate EP that's not that sexy, but it's still pretty cool. The things we got to do. And now I'm back like in the grind.
Right.
Sometimes on my own, driving a Toyota Hilux or a Nissan Frontier on a coastline by myself, wearing 5'11" khakis, combat boots, and looking like a contractor type.
Yeah, being that guy.
As a gringo in a location where I probably, was getting all the
Right.
attention I did. I got
Yeah.
tons of attention. And there was one day where I was driving to work, and this wasn't that big of a highlight for me, but it was just kind of like not every day, but it became normal. There was local organizations and people that were attacking what the company that I was working for was trying to facilitate and organize and give safe harbor to.
Yeah.
And driving onto the facility one day, there's this long dirt road. It's coming down this like Guatemalan highway towards the coast, and you bang this right, and I'm turning the corner in my technical POV that we were renting in Guatemala City. I drop that off, and I'm going to be there for 2 weeks. And I drive by, and there was this dude in this little gully, wadi, whatever you want to call it, area, this irrigation canal with all of these locals kind of crowded around taking pictures, and like there's no law enforcement, there's no EMS. No one was there yet. This guy had gotten executed.
Wow.
By whatever person they were connected to or organization they were connected to, but it turned out that they were actually somewhat tied to the organization and the place that I was working for. And it dawned on me. And I'm like, somebody was supposed to do something, somebody said something, somebody was tied in somewhere, there's leverage here. My mind raced.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, damn, this is real.
Yeah, this is real.
This is pretty real.
Yeah.
And then that's when I started diving down the rabbit hole even more. Shorten it up a little bit, the 2.5 years-ish in Guatemala, I kept coming back to the States. I was doing tons of training. I was doing courses in technical surveillance countermeasures on my own, spending all my own money. I came back and I did other EP programs or, tactical-based stuff. Because there was an armed component that we were dealing with as well, and I was a part of that. And I also went through like covert entry training, learning how to like lock pick and do these things and to get into vehicles and to bypass things. And I was always just thinking like, what do I need to know to be better to just understand like what if?
Right.
And then that's when I was like, I need to start getting medically trained. Because in the event something happens, there's not a ton you can do. There's the reactive piece of responding to incident, and then there's the proactive piece of absorbing the risk that is going to create it in whatever way you can, and to just like create those layers or those concentric rings or the industry standard on whatever to get there, which is not dealing with it, avoidance at all costs, which is most of our job.
Right.
And so I, became an EMT. And then I started studying. And then I started getting involved with, like, again, tapping back into that, like, PSD training, which is ultimately more of a high threat model to doing executive protection.
Right.
And then I still started to just get that, like, fire burning of, like, I need to scratch this itch.
Yeah.
Like, what's next?
It's like you keep putting tools in your toolbox, and you just keep finding more and more reasons why you need to add to it. I love that.
And it was like an insatiable hunger to try to learn, to grow, to get better, to collect experience. And I say that a lot, collecting experience, because I don't feel like my trajectory and my transitions in between anything has been anything more than circumstantial, but also a collection. And like, what can I get the most out of where I'm at here, and how is that going to benefit me? And if I can decide and I can implement the next decision or the next phase of my life, what is that going to be? And that was probably the first time where I got to decide. So I went through the process to get attached to and apply for the State Department, but as a contractor for what you call Worldwide Protective Services, or WIPS.
WIPS, yeah.
Which a lot of guys come from these days.
Yeah.
And again, common denominator, there's many, many, many times that I tried to do that, but because of my military background and what I did, I didn't check the right boxes. Some were absolute BS, right? I knew that. And I'm like, I'm scissors on red tape. Try me. Like, let me have it. Let me at it. I cut it. I finally cut it. And I sacrificed everything to cut that tape.
Yeah.
And I got in, And that also helped me with some of those processes where I've got clearance things working and an organization goes, hey, like, you can't get in here. You can't do this with us. You're not vetted.
Yeah.
You can't pass the test, or we don't know you. And I'm like, red tape, red tape, red tape, red tape. Hey, can I give you everything that I got? Military background, DD-214.
Yeah.
I've got clearance paperwork processing. Have it. And then sure enough, on one specific thing that I did in El Salvador, these guys go, you're good. You're in. And then I'm working with individuals way above my station, as you would call it.
Yeah.
And one of the coolest experiences in my career, doing things that I never thought I would be a part of, landing places I never thought that I would see, being in charge of making decisions for an individual that I never fathomed.
Right.
Where it was real.
Right.
Where things were happening as we were having these conversations in El Salvador. Like, news is coming out that this happened in this location. This is going on here. You know, and it was just fairly wild. And I transitioned from that and tapped into this fiery calling of what's next. Is this protector, warrior mentality, whatever you want to call it. There was something that I still wasn't doing. And I went to Baghdad, Iraq with the State Department.
Okay.
And was working on high profile, high threat teams, doing it the old classic way. At that time, it was a lot different. There was a lot less going on, you know, so not like tooting my own horn, but like it was an experience and it was different. And then you're doing those kinds of things and transitioning from like that young college graduate that got out of the Marine Corps into Guatemala, into a marriage at the time that transitioned me.
Right.
And then to realizing
that's what I think is so funny. It was a marriage that got you there. It wasn't like, my career trajectory, like that was my goal to have it be one internet. No, it was real life. Your wife wanted to go there. Therefore, you're going to go there.
And I ultimately chose the calling.
Yeah.
Conversations were had about it.
Yeah.
Uncomfort was shared.
Yeah.
I chose.
Yeah.
So it was that deeply seated that I was willing to go against my upbringing. This, you're in it for the long haul, make it work at all costs.
Right.
And obviously there's two sides to every story, but I left and I did it.
Yeah.
And then I went through that couple-month pipeline of training process and then transitioned into that year over there. And you know, it was really, really, really cool. It was really fun. It was really unique. I met some amazing people. We did some really fun stuff, some unique missions, some unique opportunity.
Yeah.
And then, boom, it's like pushing you into that next caliber of,
Right.
hey, Nate, you're going to be the AIC for this individual today.
Yeah.
And like, who else is with me? Well, it's just you and another car. And you're going here. You know, like, green side stuff where, you know, it's safer to some degree and there's other teams rolling around the areas, but me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, this is astronomical. This is responsibility.
Right.
This matters. I need to understand these routes. I need to understand how this system works. I need to understand how communications are working over this platform, this system with these individuals, who's connected and who's doing what, and to look at this at the macro, not the micro. And to see scale and to see the moving parts and pieces that really put all of these worlds and these things that we're doing together. And it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. I got bored. I legitimately...
Not surprised at all.
I got bored. I had way too much time to get heavily into things like cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, you know, get put out on the streets in a way financially for just dumb decisions and have a really good time doing it.
Right.
And then go, what's next? And I got it. In Guatemala, I'd been interviewing with a couple organizations back in the States and had applications out for other things that still to this day, I'm like, man, I wish I would have done that, you know, but I didn't.
Yeah.
But I'd gone through a couple interviews, and that same individual that we both, you know, are aware of actually sent me a LinkedIn message that I still have. And it's like, hey, I remember you. Curious if you'd be interested in coming in. I'm building this covert protection detail.
Yeah.
And, bless that guy
Yeah.
for seeing something that I didn't really understand at the time.
Yeah.
Because, you look into the future now, and it's like, I've been told no so many times more.
And now someone's telling you.
On things that I feel like
Yeah.
I could just knock out of the park.
Right.
Things that I know without a shadow of a doubt,
Yeah.
I'm going to be the best thing that you ever considered. Or at least I want to be. And that's when I'm going to go into it as, like, wholeheartedly, like, give you everything that I got. And he gave me an opportunity. And I respect the fact that he did.
Yeah.
Now being in a position where you give people opportunities.
Yes.
And seeing something. And so something that he saw in me, really resonated. And I showed up to that program, building tables on my off day and, our place of work that we were going to operate out of.
Yep.
And then turning that into, how do I get better?
Yeah.
What schools do I go to?
Yeah.
How do I train more?
Did
and then
you-
doing covert protection
did
for
you-
2.5 years.
2.5 years? Yeah, I think we did 2.5 years together. Did you find that it was the structure? You don't seem to be the person that needs that structure. How many military guys just used to, it's like when you're in the military for too long, you have that lack of that independent, self-motivated. You just do it because it's what's expected of you. And then in Guatemala and Thailand, it sounds like you're the one that's building the structure. And so you're self-motivated in that way that then I feel like when you brought the to the CoPro team, you were one of, our main team lead was such a mentor. That's clearly what I remember from him is
extremely impactful.
Him believing in you more than either of us believed in ourselves. It's massive kudos and just respect to him. But then I just remember when you joined, because I was on the team before you, and then when you joined and we were building furniture, I remember the structure that you brought. And I think that's to your credit, especially with ex-military. I think that's something that sometimes gets, it's a weakness. And you've taken that, and it's not a characteristic of yourself. And then how do you take this now covert team, now stateside, now in Silicon Valley, very, very different than what you're used to and very different of your whole life for the last, 5 years. How's that transition play out?
Another reset.
Yeah.
I think something that gets very forgotten is the ability to forget what was before.
Yeah.
So moving into something different and new and taking it as it is. It's like, I love film and movies and shows, and it's like, I'm kind of like a cinephile, but you watch one thing and it's one way. And there's a lot of processes and procedures that they do to go about those kinds of things. And then you watch something else and you start thinking about, holy crap, like, how did they do that? That's so cool.
Yeah.
Or like, this scene is amazing and this happened. And like, how do they go about those things? I looked at that team in a way of like, this is new to me. I understand the idea and the concept, but like, what does covert protection truly mean?
Right.
And to me, it meant a lot of things, but it meant a new learning process on getting there together and how to do it. And the way they put that team together, even before I got there, was you have individuals with certain backgrounds, individuals that have just gotten a start in doing this, and like some of your talk before on this, and then you have your special operations guys, and then you have guys that, why are you here?
Yeah. We did have a few of those.
Like, what are you doing and why are you here?
Are you lost?
And then that was a phase where I go, the only way that I can fathom even trying to do this in the best way possible is to learn as much as I can.
Yeah.
And to talk and to challenge and to listen and to absorb kind of like the mentoring that would happen from different fields, different walks of life, different areas of approach, different mentalities, different protection standards, different, I've done this way, how should we do this way? And then you're shift leading operations where I guess you figure it out along the way, but you start to just trust the individuals that are doing it.
Yeah.
Where micromanaging and micro controlling isn't possible because there's so much autonomy in position and approach and location and transition. You know, through how do you find a principal?
Yeah.
When they're gone.
Yeah.
In the days of like not having any sort of location or tracking capabilities on an individual.
Yep.
And like in my mind, you know, all these other guys are talking about it. And I remember one of the guys, he was a former combat controller, oddball, right? And, you know, combat controlling is a lot of calling for fire from, you know, big boys upstairs flying by and doing things and seeing big picture and command and control and learning how to like position and bracket to cordon control and to like shrink into getting what you want. And then we were like, oh, you know, why don't we just bracket?
Let's try it.
You go here, you go here, you get this door. Let's just fan out. And then we started to learn things like where staffing numbers come into play, where you lose capability because you don't have position or individuals to be able to fix the risk or to counter the failure of like missing a principle or like being off a move. And those kind of things all kind of came together. But I think for me, what was important was the team. It was the people, because without the team and the people and the individuals with these autonomy to do these things were putting it all together. They're making it work. I would only like put information on a screen in a PowerPoint and brief it before everybody goes out to do these things or to plan for it, and to preface it with, you know, good things that got implemented from individuals that came in afterwards were like, hey, let's go over contingencies. Let's think about like in the event of what do I do? And we use that based off of, you know, like a principle-based approach or understanding in astronomical detail who you're taking care of. I remember there's points where we're like sitting outside of a location, everybody is just wondering like what's going to happen next because we had no information.
We had no idea.
You're literally conducting like surveillance where your job is to know everything with nothing.
And to control an unknown environment.
And you get so intimately attached to like the tiniest of details, like gait in a crowd or walk and stride and attire and time of day and who's around, who's doing what, and how that transitions to what's next and what's coming, and having foresight and forethought to get there. So there's one moment where I can't remember who I was with. Maybe it was you, the other team, but somebody just caught ankles. Like pane of glass. It's frosted. And we've got about a window of this from about, 25 yards away, and somebody goes, they're moving. And we got it. And it was just like this weird, everybody sits back at the end of the day and you're like, we made it there. We got to this level. And then I think usually I'm like, it's not good enough. How do we get better?
Exactly.
Like, how do we get better?
We should have found it 5 minutes faster.
Why did we get it then when we could have got it earlier? What did we not do? Did we not go inside and, play whatever character or just be in vicinity of information to be able to like absorb and these things that I was learning in these other places in the world and like people teaching me and these like bigwig guys from all over the world that were doing things with me in like Guatemala and Iraq. And I was just thinking and trying to determine what makes it better. And then you start to go into things like you talked about. It's like behavioral analysis and like understanding psychology and behavior and like the streets are one thing. Some people are never going to have street smarts. It's just not going to go there. Some people, which we know, like can walk around not even seeing anything that's happening around them and we're so focused on the Matrix red dress,
Yep.
but now there's 15 of them.
Yep.
And then how do you determine and delineate like what's actually a risk, a threat, a possibility, and do you choose the right one?
And just based off of your visuals and body language. I remember when we'd get to a point where the team ourselves didn't have to even use comms for multiple movements because we knew exactly you're going there, I'm going here, I have eyes on. There was such a fluid communication between our team, but then same for our principal of anticipating they're going to take a right-hand turn.
Yeah.
Oh, nervous. Something's up. Something's up right now. And they're just standing there at a bus stop. But
Yep, a quick shuffle
you
step.
know exactly, close that gap. Something's up.
Head tuck.
Not on something. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just the way she'd hold her purse or whatever it was. All nonverbal. All the way that humans are just fascinating in how we were created of just the intricacies of these minute communications that we give off, or knowing, hey, my partner's having a bad day today. Nate had, Indian food last night and he's not doing okay. So then knowing of like, okay, I'm not going to count on Nate right now. But then as soon as I see Nate, yep, he's got my back.
Yep.
Nope, Nate's behind me. No, Nate's around that corner. That corner's already cleared for me. So no, I don't have to worry. I remember that just being huge with our team and the synergy that we operated at. It was fun. It was so special.
Because even in those moments for you and me and everybody else, learning that, again, new approach. Right?
Very much so.
We were figuring it out together.
Yeah.
There was other individuals in the community and, security doing covert protection in different ways. Right? But they weren't doing it there and they weren't doing it the way we were.
Yeah.
But they were, but they weren't.
Yeah.
It's so nuanced to think that even this goes back to like industry level standards and things like that. And give me another 10 years and maybe we'll get there. But like what I can speak on is the fact that give me models.
Yeah.
Give me bodies. Give me variables and let me explain why what we have might not work.
Right.
Where there's holes, where there's flaws, where there's opportunity to get better, where it might just not be enough. So to standardize is also to just limit possibility and approach and like circumventing the things that we're here for. And that team was just so eye-opening with all of those unique individuals and the directions they've gone since and what we were trying to accomplish and do. And, even like the leadership learning lessons and process in between.
How was that? I mean, given that you'd had so much leadership experience from the Marines, from these other details, how is that from a leader's perspective of even just me sharing some of my experiences? How do you... Because I was even, watching back the last episode of, okay, well, if I was a manager during that time... Would I have done anything different? Would I have... you and I have talked about this in the past of you just never knew. You never knew what was happening. Rightfully so. But then if I had told you as my manager, I don't really know if it would change anything. I don't think it could. It was still the job that was required from us. But then...
Yeah, because we're talking about your story.
Right. Yeah, if we take now my story of like, hey, you have girls on the team that are becoming victims, honestly. That's what it is. There's no way to sugarcoat it. And what, you're going to take us off the op? You're going to now put us in the car, so we're always the car person? like...
And you have to make some of those decisions, but I think what we're getting at is, something that also I'm reflecting on is that was a time too when I was in a position where, like kind of we've discussed before, where you're building schedules or you're moving pieces around. You're playing the chess game on like how to move today and how to tackle today and how to make the right adjustment and change in order to get to the ultimate win, however you define that.
Yeah.
For me, what that was in the moment. and you kind of just learn to put so much trust into people and slip past what a lot of people I think do is like, what if regarding who they are as an individual, a person, a human with whatever background, experience, but not even that, like what level of support that they have. And there was times that you were in the field by yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
And looking back on that, I'm like, I don't know if that was a complete leadership flaw and failure by everybody involved.
Yeah.
Or that was like a trial by fire, stand the test of time, see how it works out.
Right.
But what you shared last time, which, it sits pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Because you were describing those times where everybody gave you information. We talked. You talked to,
Totally.
other senior individuals on the team and your teammates and your support mechanisms and the systems and the gear and the tech and the medical. And we thought we had it covered.
Right.
But then Malinda is out on her own, far separated from support.
Yeah.
Because again, model, bodies, staffing, approach.
Right.
Pieces have been taken off the board for whatever reason, or we just don't have it. Or
we just don't have the resources.
We can go down that rabbit hole, but like the approval process of what this means and what we're talking about into a larger, client stakeholder conversation of here's what right looks like and here's why. And I'm not saying that because it's right the way that you're going to see right or the right that I see right, but I have data points and times and repetition where there's things that can go wrong. And are we more focused on putting a Band-Aid on this, or are we stopping the hemorrhage?
Exactly.
Or are we just preventing it before it happens?
Right.
And you were put in positions where, we can look back and I can look back and be like, it's probably not the right decision to do that.
Yeah.
And then that impacts you now.
Right.
Which directly reflects on us or me or the team or just circumstance. But in our world, those things happen and you're put in those positions and we're supposed to all be ready for it. But also there's the human impact and consequences.
Right. And I think that's leadership. Because first off, my story, it just builds character. So, end of the story. Everything worked out good. The lesson and the value is on mine. Exactly. Thankfully, we're still here. But I think that's such a good point, and that a lot of executive protection teams need to grow is that leadership and that ownership of, and I'm experiencing this now, just even as being a manager, how if my employees are going through something, at what point is it the ownership of, you just didn't know the context. You didn't know what the right choice was. So then that's a leadership flaw. I need to make sure you have a contingency plan for X, Y, and Z if this happens, if you lose a client, if the client has medical, whatever it is. Then is it they're just having a bad day? Is it just, a random accident? Or is it a leadership, I should have anticipated that need, or I should have made a different call. And then you having to take that ownership of that was my bad.
Yeah.
And how is that, and not in context to our team, but for now the other teams that you're managing and now in your role now, how do you deal with that pressure, but then that confidence or that that leadership stance on if my employees are failing, that's because I'm failing in a sense. Because I think that's where a lot of resentment happens and we've been on teams where, other teams where your leadership does not care at all. And it's reflected and it shows up in so many ways. But then even just these testimonies of people, of what they think about you, you are someone that leads from the front. And so how have you found that in your team environments being so much more stronger because of you actually caring, you actually investing and being intentional with your employees?
I don't think I'm stronger by any means. I think I'm just playing the chess game a little bit differently.
Yeah.
It's like I sit back and I study, or I train, or I learn, or get better at leadership, like, you know, the year-long program with Harvard.
Yeah.
Or looking into some other things now on like what's that next step. But with a lot of those things too comes the astronomical issues of what responsibility looks like.
Do you feel that pressure?
Yeah. You have to take responsibility for things you disagree with. You have to take responsibility for things you absolutely agree with. You take responsibility for your actions, others' actions. But what I feel like leadership is for me is an insulator. Like, I should be taking care of people in a way where if I'm not giving them enough, or if I'm not giving them enough leeway or enough autonomy to do the right things, I'm responsible.
Yeah.
If I'm giving them everything that I got and they're understanding it in a way that is not the way that I thought they should be understanding it, there's something missing there.
Yeah.
And that just kind of goes back to like a lot of business principles and things, and like, you know, keywords or slogans like dynamic teaming and inclusion and all these other things you learn studying. But what does that truly mean in our industry? And I think it just brings back to that thing of like, you need to just find the holes. You need to find the holes, and you need to find the flaws, and you need to do root cause analysis to be able to get there. And so when things fall apart, there's a reason and justification for it. There's a, you used to always say like, have an answer to everything.
Yeah.
If at any specific moment, you should be able to explain the why at scale, like through scrutiny, getting to whatever end result or investigation or whatever piece, like you should have already had the foresight to be there. And so at the team level, you know, when people are failing, I guess I've always taken too much care and responsibility for it. On that old team, there was things that happened that, you know, I took it on the chin, and I'll tell you all day long, every single day, it's because of a root cause analysis that I don't feel like I was a part of, but I was in a position to where I had to hold responsibility for it regardless. And so I think the communication piece on teams is huge.
Yeah.
Like sitting down and discussing of like, when I'm in my position thinking of these things, here's what I'm thinking about. When I put you out to do these things on your own and to take charge and to get to this level, and you don't reach back and ask questions, you're failing both of us.
Yeah.
If I don't give you enough information to then assign you to do that and expect you to get to a result that maybe you're not going to get to because it's my fault in putting you there in the first place, or not giving enough information, maybe that's me going, you know, hands up, have at it. Like, let's see what you got.
Yeah.
But I feel like everything needs to be strategic, everything needs to be calculated, and everything needs to be designed in a way where it's set up for success. And chess is always a master analogy, poker even. Yeah, it's gambling, but so is our career and our jobs and everything that we're doing on a daily basis. You make the best call with the players at the table or what's on the board, but you should know how to play the game. You should understand the statistics involved. You should understand how what piece being moved where then translates 15 moves ahead, and to play your best game.
Yeah.
But people, teams, caring for them, trusting them, and trying to just build a unit is how we are successful. We can't do it on our own.
No.
And people fail all the time thinking they can, or they're the best thing since, you know, taking it back to my grandpa / Brett. Right. And they're out there, and the egos are out there, and we've all had egos about different stuff, but I truly genuinely care about like building things in a way to where it's tailor-made and designed to be successful for the people that you have on hand, the situation you have on hand, the forecastable things that you can calculate for, and planning and putting it all together however possible, and have options.
Yeah. How do you fight against resentment or bitterness with either in a leadership role or just in your own career
This is off
trajectory?
script, Malinda.
I know this is a question that actually this was
Careful.
one of my first questions I wanted to ask you because, my episode was like, oh, I love everyone. Oh, let me tell you these fun stories, and I feel like this episode we're getting so much more into the nitty gritty of the weeds of what is the behind the scenes and the real life, why people choose this career, what happens when you're in the career. But then there, unfortunately, just like every other single job, there's a lot of backstabbing. Yeah. There's a really ugly side to this industry. There's a lot of rumor mills. There's a lot of we're so quick to tell someone of another person's faults because to one side of it is that your team needs to know if there's a history with this individual with alcohol, with, inappropriate relations with a client or anything, then that needs to be, protection, save the team from some heartache. But how have you been able to navigate in this industry with some of the highs and lows? So we both experience. I mean, anyone in this industry has actually experienced this. You're not an EP agent unless you've gotten fired. You're not an EP agent unless you've royally messed up. It's not, I mean, the risk and the pressure is too high to not. So,
absolutely.
How do you take that? Not regret, but I think it's very easy to choose bitterness in this industry. So how do you not choose that?
I don't think sometimes you have a choice.
Yeah. That's what I was hoping you'd say.
I'm not, ever going to run for any sort of office, or do I feel like that would ever be a possibility, kind of a thing where we need to kind of skirt around the edges on this. I think you will always harbor something. Mm-hmm. You'll have your short list of people and places and situations and actions and reactions and decisions and no's and what ifs that will torment you, both personally and professionally, especially the professional and transitioning into the personal, and then how that just affects everybody. Yeah. And it's affected all of us. I've got mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've experienced some of those together.
Yeah.
I've experienced some recently on multiple occasions. Mm-hmm. And I think, to be honest, I've gone about some in the right way, and I've got about some in the emotional, stress-filled, egotistical way. Yeah. All are lessons. Every last one of them. And I think that trying to be introspective and reflect on like your own actions and that extreme accountability and ownership is, I've always held people to standards that maybe they're never going to meet. Yeah. But their standards I may never meet, or you may not match up to somebody else. Yes. Or it's just the wrong place, wrong time, wrong decision, and that's just not the next phase for you. Mm-hmm. But what I do know is they're lessons, and if you don't learn from them, then you're wrong. Mm-hmm. If you're not using that as fuel for the next phase, the next decision, the next action, the next interaction, or also what gets lost on a lot of people, I believe, is they're not paying attention to everybody else's issues or failures or successes and wins. Platforming them and being like, amazing. Mm-hmm. Explain to me how you went about that. Or like, I see you, I hear you, I don't understand why you did what you did. However, you're your own person and individual, and I'm probably never going to, because I'm going to have my own filter and way of processing this. But let me just sit back and kind of like have, not even empathy, just an articulate, intellectual, internal dialogue on what all the variables were. Yeah. Because we work in variables, we work in unknowns, we work in knowns, and all we try to do is play the best game when we're sitting at the table. Yeah. And when we're on the op, or we're on the trip, or we're on the movement. It's rinse, wash, repeat. Every single one's different. And sometimes they transition and phase through so many different actions and interactions that you're never gonna get it right. And so I guess just accepting the fact that like it's gonna happen and you're gonna have issues and you're gonna have problems. And this industry is small, fickle, indecisive, and just a meat grinder.
It is. It really is. Have you had mentors along the way that have been helpful? I mean, obviously our old team lead. Has there been other people that you've relied on for, hey, I'm in a situation, what do I do?
Yeah, I mean, all the time. Actually, a really good friend of mine now that I was working. So when I transitioned from the Pro team, I went and did a stint and did a little bit of corporate side as a detail lead, helping re-navigate and orchestrate like an RST team and some EP and, you know, putting my mind and knowledge to it. And then what came about was the opportunity to move forward, and I got that itch and something just red flagged, and I go, oh, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
That was a phase where we talked, and then I eventually jumped into technically an EP manager role for a new covert protection detail that went through an astronomical flux and change and transition. And that was a big piece for me where, you know, and an individual that we both know very well, I got to learn a lot from. Yeah. But I got to add a lot to that as well, to the sense of, you know, if you don't absorb what's around you and what's transpired and what's existed and how we got to where we're at, you're never going to be able to get to the next phase, especially when you're on your own.
Yeah.
And I found myself on my own, taking over a position that I reluctantly I didn't necessarily want, but I didn't want anybody else to come in and take it. I didn't want anybody else to remove the control of the people that I cared the most about, and trying to just remove what happened on our old team where I wasn't able to shape the narrative to take care of the people that are taking care of me. And the people that were around and doing that process with me were astronomical and mentoring me, and the discussions that I had with, you know, the role that I took over, you know, directing a family office at scale and scope and huge team size with a lot of moving parts on the road all the time with a principal that I astronomically respect and appreciate, but could never understand.
Yeah.
And I did the best that I could with what I got. And I remember actually entering a conversation with that specific individual, explaining to them where I said, I may not be the guy. I may not be the best fit. I may not make this the best it can be in more or less words, but I will give it everything that I got.
Yeah.
And then you learn from that too. And where that kind of...
Based off that reaction.
Yeah, where that fell apart and where it went and like what you could have done differently.
Yeah.
And so those leaders involved with that team, the leaders that were high-fiving me down the middle together, there was a part of that team too, talk about, you know, bitterness, resentment, where I came in thinking that I was supposed to be something that I wasn't at the time and waiting for it to happen. Yeah. And the other guy that was doing it with me, I eventually sat down with him and basically said, hey, like, I don't like you. I don't know what it is, but
I adore you both, so I'm shocked to hear that one.
I don't like you. However, we have to do this together.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to make this work.
Yeah.
And on that very reasoning and foundation that we're on this team together and our success is driven off.
Where was that? Does not shy away from conflict.
Yeah. I do sometimes.
How did he respond to that?
Really well.
Yeah.
That one conversation
I could see him really responding really well to that.
Into, he didn't take it greatly.
No, I mean,
that's one of those guys that's the yin to my yang.
Totally.
Like they're the opposites attract.
Yes.
And then we eventually figured out how to grind all the way to the end together.
Gelling really well together. Yeah. I
making it work.
That. Yeah.
And then again, building a unit, building a team, building operational procedures and policies and implementation of big logistical scale and what a lot of people don't appreciate.
And internationally
Yeah.
as well. You're not in Silicon Valley in a fairly controlled environment. Now you're internationally doing all these operations.
And what gets left to the wayside is, I'll limit what I'm going to say here, but there's a group of thought and individuals and people that are in positions that have so many resources and tools at their disposal. Yes. They can make a decision, and then there's other people that are going to ensure the success of that decision. Mm-hmm. We were in a position where it was on us, by us, for us, and everything came back to us. We were a siloed team at a big scale, working on our own to make it work, and really reporting directly to the principal, however, in the family office, but being controlled and seen over by a vendor corporation that we were working for amongst big transitions. You know, and it goes all the way back full circle to being, you know, a minister's kid, seeing who's in this for what. It becomes very political, bureaucratic, and you start to realize that there's so many players at the table and everybody has a different end goal. And our end goal was mission success, team cohesion, operational continuity, consistency, effectiveness, aggressiveness, and an astronomical capability to pull unicorns out of a hat and materialize something out of nothing.
Exactly.
And we did it.
Yeah, and you did it.
And we did it, and it got recognized by it. And if any of those individuals are hearing this, I hope they just remember some of those moments where behind the scenes there's so much happening. There's so much happening. And so many things that you don't talk about, you don't highlight, you don't, you know, put a flag out and go, hey, this happened. We want to highlight the fact that, you know, we were great today. But transition into now, you know, helping run protective operations and try to grow business and to do business and to be a part of the business side of the house, being a very heavily on the ground operational guy with the education, training, knowledge, and experience to be able to understand it from a nuanced level. And we're just trying to recreate all of the successes without the failure. We're trying to change how we're going about things, similar to, you know, other people in the industry that are going to do it really well. And they're going to be successful because they're thinking about it holistically and in a way that's
it's not reinventing the wheel. It's just perfecting the wheel.
And challenging standards.
Yes.
Because let's play chess.
Absolutely.
I'll show you a move you probably didn't think of. Why? Because you've been there for 15 years and that's how you did it, but it's not necessarily the right answer here. But there's a lot there to learn from as well. And so, I don't know. 10, 15 years from now, I don't know where I'll be, what I'll be doing, but I know I'll still be a sponge, and I know I'll still trying to be
cutting that red tape,
creating, programming, facilitating, and just trying to do it better all the time, and to do it very specifically. And that's where that like concierge, you know, mentality
with
of
excellence.
High touch, tailor-made.
I love that. Okay, well, the final topic that I would love to touch on is a little more on the personal side. And gotta save the best for last.
Let me clear the throat.
Clear the throat. You are engaged to someone who is very, one, beautiful, two, very special.
She is, definitely.
And I have known you for a long time, and I have loved to follow your journey on the personal side. And we've had a lot of conversations about our families, our a lot of our lives has paralleled each other from childhood. And then I remember the first time going out to breakfast with you, first time hearing about your fiance, and I remember immediately knowing, oh, this girl's something. Because I remember you distinctly saying, I told her everything. and she listens and she steps into this and she gets it. She gets EP. And to
She
her
doesn't always
credit,
like it, though.
well, now especially.
Yeah.
I mean, you were very new to dating. But I remember I know how reserved you are. And I know how reserved you have to be with this job, especially in new relationships. Mixed with, I'd never seen you so supported by a female that stepped into your world and just fully adapted. To her credit, I mean,
In the heat of it.
And I'm sure now, years later, that no one loves the long nights. No one loves I'm flying to somewhere tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's also Christmas. Also, it's our anniversary. But how has that
Captures
been?
on Daily Mail and TMZ and like, oh yeah.
Exactly.
Who were you with? What was happening?
Exactly.
Yeah,
You've got some
tough.
really great photos on TMZ. I
just
remember.
don't look
Oh
too
my
deep.
gosh, you. The audience wants to look up some fun photos.
There's some good captures.
There's
out
some
there,
really good
for
action
sure.
shots.
Yeah.
But that is such a great point of you're with principals that it's almost diplomatic in governments. Like, great, go with those ones. But when you've got celebrities, you've got very pretty models around you. You've got very, very beautiful humans around you. Mixed with the long hours, the stress. You are this self-driven individual. So how is it having a partner that adapts and sacrifices a lot for you, but then how do you in return support her, and how are you able to make her also feel like, I know there's a lot of questions back on back, but of having that connection.
I'm tracking.
Yeah.
I'm absorbing this.
Because I think it deserves the voice and it deserves the respect, because you and I both know many, many men who do not have supportive partners. You and I know many men that that is all we hear on shift is the complaints. We hear the nagging. We hear the, oh gosh, I got to tell her. And so the fact that your wonderful fiance is not known for that, I think is, one, respectful. You're very respectful of her and her reputation, but also
And privacy too.
and privacy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah, again, in the thick of it.
Yeah.
There was no other way around the dating,
It's rough.
courting,
It's rough.
old man term
Yeah.
phase of like trying to,
Trying to be intentional?
I guess, trying to do it again, but better. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't necessarily ready for it, but it kind of just slapped me in the face and, hit me in a way where I was like, again,
Yeah.
if I'm not learning from my own mistakes and lessons, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just running around thinking that I'm the greatest thing and just all the best decisions. And it's definitely not the individual sitting on this side of the table over here. Yeah. I've made my mistakes and done things and, miscommunicated and not gone about things in the right way in the past. And I just kind of realized that the only way to understand this world is full transparency.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, being engaged and getting married and about to be a husband here in March is to a lawyer, like
Professional arguer.
Yeah, it needs to be very calculated and
Yeah.
articulated well. And I just started sharing everything with her.
Yeah.
When, you're supposed to jump on a phone call and it's a late night and, your principal is out with friends and then that transitions into a red carpet event and then to a nightclub and then to 7 o'clock, sun's up, getting back in the morning and you just need, you're only going to get an hour and a half of sleep before you got to get back up, set up for the next day, and make sure everybody's successful and play chess on a lack of sleep, exhausted, and explaining that process.
Yeah.
In detail, but not too much.
Right.
a lot of after the fact. And then there's moments too where I think that you really need to be cognizant of what you're explaining and what you're sharing and what the impact of that's going to be in the same, you know, way that you go about really everything with teams and management and leadership and, you know, talking to higher ups and everything in between. And it's just the importance of information you share is really critical. And I used to share the important information where understanding, like, I guess the female spectrum a little bit and what might be important in that moment. And I go, this is the case and here's what's happening and here's where I'm going to be and here's kind of what's going to transpire. Yeah. I don't know. I can't describe and I can't share, but I will keep you informed. Yeah. At least when it matters. And then I started to get this just like gridlock moments of I explained and I communicated and then I was just allowed to function and work and focus. Yeah. And then that goes, oh, this is a good exchange. Yeah. This is fantastic. Right. But there's times you're never really going to get it right. I mean, the last minute trips that pop up and you just got to go. Yeah. And you got to cancel plans and you got to change reservations or we have this, you know, wedding planning meeting that's coming up and right. I'm not going to make it maybe. And they're like, for what though? And you say, it's for this. And they're, it's not good enough. Yeah. And you go, correct. Right. Not good enough.
I got to go to Omaha, Nebraska.
But can't somebody else do it?
Yes.
But it just kind of like, you know, snowballs. Yeah. Into hopefully like a functional way of going about things. And then also, you know, being transparent about, you know, the momentary frustrations and trauma and situations and articulating why you were thinking things a certain way or, you know, why you shut the door to have that conversation, you know, or why you needed to go to the Starbucks down the street while you're at home to take that call. And I think all of it just goes back to just the communication piece of just sharing. Yeah. And just trying to make them part of it so they understand and they feel like I get it. And then, you know, sometimes the wives and the girlfriends, they meet and they interlinked and, you know, even sharing, you know, I don't have female friends. Yeah. I really don't. Yeah. So when you do, for me, it's always been, you know, work related. Yes. And then explaining those types of relationships and being transparent about it. And then, you know, discussing like what that meant at the time and like where it's transpired, you know, like with this very situation of like why we're sitting down and having this conversation, it's that extreme professionalism of where we've been and where we're getting and where we're going. And then now you're trying to bring new people in and keep your circle small. Right. And who you add to that is astronomical. And I'm blessed and grateful. Yeah. I'm excited. Yeah. And I have an amazing partner that I definitely do not deserve that is going to definitely help me be successful over the next 10, 15 years and be a huge part of it. And they already have. Like she's been astronomical and the transition pieces, the frustration, you know, what are we doing? I remember, you know, coming to Rescor Group, I was in that transition from that big scale team and kind of the dissipation of it. Which happened both naturally and for a lot of reasons. We can just go down that rabbit hole all day, but we won't. And there was a gap of time where it's like, what do you do? And you're reaching out and you're networking and you're trying to do all these things and you're trying to leverage whatever relationships to get a talk or a call or a conversation or somebody just to look at what you know, what you just know in your soul is supposed to jump off the page and it just doesn't. And then like that process of, we're doing it. What's happening? Yeah. And then that personal ownership is being, you know, a partner and where we need to go together. And we were also in a time too where, you know, in that last program, I moved back up to Washington. Yeah. I bought a house. It's still for sale. We're down here now, you know, like real transparency. There's both rent and a mortgage and you're trying to find the balance in between.
It's real. Yeah, it's real life.
There's those pressures. And then you're like, I got to take off for 2 weeks and, you know, go here to Europe for a bit. And they're like, isn't there a full-time program and team?
Right.
And you go, no,
Yeah.
it's not about that.
Yeah.
I need to go. And they're like, why do you need to go? And you're like, it's new. We're building.
Yeah.
We're growing. It's important. I want to show up because I want to add everything that I think that I can add there and get on the ground,
Yeah.
operate, and be a ground guy and use the data and information that I'm gathering and figuring out from the experience and the repetition and time in between to then hopefully set the team up for success and let them run with it. And I think it's really important. And then you get the
Especially when it's a
answers
startup.
like,
Yeah.
like,
Absolutely.
aren't you salaried?
Right.
You don't have to do that.
Right.
And I go, I know, but I need to.
Yes, exactly.
And then when they get that, it's like, wow,
Yeah.
it's cool. And I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for sure.
Has it been helpful for her to meet other EP girlfriends and spouses, do you think?
Yeah. I mean, to some degree, unless you're like,
I mean, there's some crazy ones, so I'd keep her away from those ones. But
I do. It's far, sometimes it's far and few between.
Yeah. Right.
She's definitely gotten attached to a lot of like people that I care about, my old team, guys that I've worked with, worked with me, that are going to be coming to the wedding. But a lot of those relationships are both past, present. There's been a lot of years and stuff in between, and she's as connected as I think you could get over the last, 4 years.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, that's to your credit. Well done. I love to be able to highlight that because I don't think any part of that should be taken for granted. It's a lot of intentionality. That's a lot of calculated steps.
Certain people call. She lets me pick up the phone every single time. Other people call and she goes, that one can wait.
Yep.
It's
we
like
all need someone in our life that can do that.
Yeah. I think comes.
I love that.
I think when you least expect it too.
Yes.
But next phase is hopefully getting better, growing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maturing.
Absolutely. Yeah. How do you see the next 5 years going?
Oh God, you never really know.
Yeah.
You never really know.
Yeah. I think post-COVID, where the industry's at right now, it's an interesting time. There's a generational shift too, I feel like, of EP leadership and a newer, younger side of EP that's already here. They're already running the industry.
Professional. 5,000 foot view up, maybe even 50,000. Yeah. I think there definitely is a transition that's happening right now where the younger generation is slowly becoming more influential and taking over and trying to implement and create change. I think, you could speak to this. I can, others can. Everybody really probably involved in this podcast process today, but bringing back that very high touch, concierge level attention to clients and attention to principles and attention to the details where it's a partnership versus a transaction.
Yes.
And trying to build, grow, implement, develop, and change everything in between. Where, I love the tailor-made suit analogy, but it's like, there's a Nordstrom and there's these other locations where you can go pick something out and they'll tweak a few things. Well, in our industry, they're out there.
Yep.
And they'll do that for new clients and stuff because it's a business and you're focused at like scaling and revenue generation and all of everything in between. To not go into the weeds, though, the next phase is what you go to when you're those types of individuals where you say, hey, I want exactly this. I want it to be this way. And then you have providers, you have individuals, or you have vendors that understand the nuances of what that means. And they're not trying to slap a packet of standards and this is what it's supposed to look like. But you're adapting and you're growing and you're trying to make
a custom fit.
Yep. Or the perfect dish with the ingredients that you're given. And sometimes those are dictated to you. Sometimes those are given to you.
Yeah.
And you have to just take this amount of stuff and try to make the thing that requires actually more, but we're going to try to make it this way. And then having the experience and knowledge and understanding, again, holistically across the board from all of these perspectives and being a sponge and training and learning and keeping in the growth process, to then hear them and listen, and then maybe start small and then scale, but build data and build whatever you need to then make it make sense. Work harder.
Yeah.
Sometimes for less.
Yeah. Yep.
And give them more.
Yep.
And then just try to build a relationship and partnership.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same concept as the communication thing with my fiance.
Yeah.
It's like understanding like, oh, you really like the fact that we're doing this and we're exchanging and we're sharing in this way. Well, let me explain to you why this bill is increasing.
Yeah.
Or what we want to do with the team. Or like why training's important. Or why, we should add some more staff to do these things.
Yep.
Or maybe we can just capitalize on who we have.
Yes.
And let's just
adjust,
put more in their bucket or their hat. Give them more responsibility. It's going to help them grow. Mm-hmm. But it's also going to be a value add. Like great return on investment. Yeah. If we can start doing this and then scale to doing this, and then it's all still the same, we just add more people to do it. Yeah. And then now you can go, oh, let's change this and tweak this. And I go, oh, that's perfect. Yeah. We'll send so-and-so. We can do that. Yeah. And so what I really want to do and what I really want to get to is to just build. And I really enjoy the building process. Yeah. And it's been a slow process for me, but I think like I'm just now at the phase where I'm starting to learn to step away a little bit more. Yeah. And to relinquish some control and allow it to happen without me. Yes. But then understand like where you're best serving and being a servant in the service industry. Yep. To be a conduit for both the team, for both the business, for both the client, the principal, stakeholders, everything in between, and just trying to like, I guess, make it different and new because of all of the experience that I've had and seeing what we have seen and, all of it. It just creates that bitterness where you feel like that's now becoming this big, giant, thick red tape. Yeah. And you're now with the razor blade slowly trying to take one layer at a time, figure out how to get through it. And then it just keeps building behind you. I feel like that's where I'm at right now, where I'm just trying to learn to get better, to learn more, get better at the business, get better at the implementation, get better at the discussion, get better at the articulation piece, and just trying to be like eloquent in my craft. Right. To hopefully help.
It's like you've got the tools in your toolbox, but they need to be sharpened. They need to be cleaned. They need to be greased. They need to be polished. They need all of that, and you just keep adding on to that.
Yeah, but sometimes some people don't buy new knives. Sometimes you can just maybe switch it up and get a new set and start over. Okay. You know what I mean? They came out with a new brand or a new model. Let's go with that.
There we go.
Because the last one's not working. There we go. And understanding that it's okay to, like, I guess,
that's
flip
not failure.
Everything up on its head.
Exactly.
And,
absolutely.
Shake the change out of the pockets and be like, let's start fresh. Yeah. So.
Well, Nate, I love to hear this story. Thank you for taking the time and to share a lot of wisdom, a lot of good stuff that I think the listeners are really going to benefit from. I think it's going to resonate with a lot of people. And I'm really excited for this next episode.
Yeah, me too. I hope this can become a thing. Yeah. Where, there's a transition. You were here before, and now I'm here, and I'll be there next time.
Next time, you'll be the interviewer.
And I think what that's going to do is hopefully just pay it forward. Yep. Maybe get some interesting individuals in here to share some stories that get interesting individuals to share some stories, and I guess shed some light on a lot of stuff that's just kind of like left by the wayside or just not. That
I think deserves attention.
Yeah,
is exactly Alan's really good at that of seeing we're letting this go. Why are we not putting value to this? And I appreciate his boldness in setting this up because I'm excited to hear the feedback of people hearing your story. Just even hearing feedback on sharing my story was very different than what I expected, but encouraging for me, and that reminder that nothing is wasted and that your story really matters. And it's your story. It's not my story. It's your story that is handpicked for you, and
there's a lot of people's stories mixed in too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. touched on a few people. If you know who you are, then you get the credit for some of these mentors for sure. But I appreciate you. Appreciate you a lot, and I'm excited to see this next episode.
Yeah, hopefully we don't burn to the ground in the process.
All right, thanks, Nate.
Absolutely.